look for Phantomas. Phantomas was important. 1911. This character was important because it went from mere criminal activity to serial killing. Yes, Phantomas was a murderer. The other thing that makes Phantomas important in the history of villains is that many times he donned an all-black suit with a hood. Very villainous, disguising his face, all in black. And you'll see that from other characters. But I think, in my humble opinion, the real person who codified, strengthened, fortified the image of a supervillain is Dr. Fu Manchu. Dr. Fu Manchu. He's still sort of depicted nowadays, if you know the Mandarin, the original, not that other weird one. You guys see Iron Man 3? Didn't you think it was kind of ironic that the supervillain wasn't really a supervillain? He was an actor in Miami? Kind of ironic, don't you think? Just saying.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Thanks. Let me give you a description of Mr. Fu Manchu. Imagine, if you would, a person tall and lean, feline-like, high-shouldered, with a brow like Shakespeare and a face like Satan. A close-shaven skull and long magnetic eyes of the true cat green. Invest with him all the cruel cunning of an entire Eastern race, accumulated in one giant intellect, with all the resources of science past and present, with all the resources, if you will, of a wealthy government, which, however, already denied all knowledge of his existence. Imagine that awful being, and you have a mental picture of Dr. Fu Manchu, the Yellow Peril incarnate in one man. Let me explain the Yellow Peril to some of our younger guests here. The Yellow Peril was a divisive racial term that they would use against Asians. Yes, Anglo-Saxons frequently don't trust the Chinese or the Japanese. Hey, that kind of sounds like today, doesn't it? Sound familiar? Dr. Fu Manchu. Dr. Fu Manchu was a chemist and would use such things as pythons and cobras, fungi, and my tiny allies, the bacilli. Yeah, he would use bacteria as a super villain weapon. This is why I say Dr. Fu Manchu is a very important stature. Now, the next supervillain might be a bit of a surprise to some of you, and it's Superman. What? Superman? How is this possible? Well, you see, Siegel and Schuster, before they wrote the Cape character, they wrote a little short story in 1933. This little short story was about a man called the Superman, the Ubermensch, the Overman, inspired by Nietzsche's philosophy of the Ubermensch, the Superman. Speaking of super, look at this guy. Hey. Let's give a shout out to the Foam League. Anybody want to get hit in the face with a foam sword? He's the one to talk to. Always looking for new victims, I mean fighters. Are you Sikh highly me? I'm more of a leftist villain.
I thought you needed new recruits.
I always need new recruits myself.
Take down Phoenix Jones.
Oh, Mr. Jones. We tried to get him to come to this, didn't we?
I don't know.
Ah, okay. Phoenix Jones, those of you who don't know who I am, I'm one of the best supervillains in the world. Real life, that is. If you're not familiar with the real life superheroes, please check out Netflix and check out the documentary. You can see old superhero there who is very kind to create an action figure out of myself. How many of you have action figures made of yourselves? Not to toot my own horn. Toot my own horn.
Toot.
They created a character called the Superman who had a super intellect in 1933. Long before they saw that Cape character. By the way, it took them 6 years. 6 years of pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, hearing, "No, we don't like your stupid idea of a Superman." Those people are kicking themselves now, aren't they? So what they did with this bald character, he actually segued into a new character, into what's called the first comic book super villain. Anyone know who that is?
Lex Luthor.
No, before Lex Luthor.
The Ultra Humanite.
Ultra Humanite.
Yeah.
Ultra-humanite, get it? Superman, ultra-humanite. They twisted the word and made another bald villain. Years later, Lex Luthor came out in 1940. Action Comics #1. He had curly red hair. Second appearance, Superman 10, no hair. What the hell happened? I'll tell you what happened. The artist got confused. He saw Mad Scientist, he thought he was drawing Ultra-Humanite. So now Lex Luthor is now bald. Which, by way of this evolution, makes Lex Luthor actually Superman. Yes, your Superman's a super villain. Stick it out of your pipe and smoke it, Kevin.